ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ 149 निरुक्तावभिमानं ये ददते तार्किकादयः हर्षमिश्रादिभिस्ते तु खण्डनादौ सुशिक्षिताः. So as a part of Mahavakya Vichara, this Vidyaranya has taken up a Tat Padartha Vichara. It's one of the component of Mahavakya. And Tat Padartha is Ishvara. So we are doing right now what is the Sarupa of Ishvara. So Ishvara is a composite entity consisting of three factors, which is an immediate meaning of Ishvara. So of these three components, Maya plays the very important role, because this Maya reflected consciousness, without Maya, reflected consciousness will not be there. And so Ishvara has a status called Ishvara. That is due to this Maya only. The very Karanam status is, and then again, yes, Sarvagnyah, Sarvavit, etc., etc. And Asya Esha Mahima Bhuvi, etc. In morning, what we discuss is all due to Maya, omniscient, omnipotent, etc. And in omniscient also we have seen knowing everything in general, knowing everything in particular, becomes a cause of the creation, and and he is a Vashi, right? I told you he is a Vashi. While he is Antaryami, he controls everything. He rules over everything without really putting a little bit of effort. If you put an effort, you are a Jiva. To control somebody, if you require an effort to control something or somebody, either, definitely he is a Jiva. Without effort, you control everything. That's amazing thing. And even without having a single concept of controlling, there is no concept of on part of Ishvara that let me control. Just being there, everything is under his control. Everything is ruled by him. So he's a ruler who cannot be ruled by anybody. That's how Varach Pratyaya is. Ishvara means Varach, Ish plus Varach. That Varach Pratyaya Satatya Gamane. So Satatya Gamane means it is in the form of a continuous ruling. So continuous ruling. He will be a ruler ever. And for that also, any ruler, if he rules all the time with a lot of effort, he will get tired. One day he has to resign, I tell you. or there will be some other problem by which the ruler will be dismissed. But he is the one. And therefore Ishvara is Anishvara, basically. Ishvara is a Anishvara. Where it is, it is in our Ganapati Ashtottara Shatanama Archana. In Ganapati, 108 names of Ganapati. In them, one of the name of Ganapati is Anishvaraya Namaha. Ishvaraya Namaha, that is okay. But no Anishvaraya Namaha. Anishvaraya Namaha is a Bahuri, basically. So, na vidyate Ishwaram yasya saha Anishvara. There is no Ishvara of this Ishvara. Otherwise, so there is no ruler of this ruler. A final ruler which rules everything, just being present, just being present, just being a material cause. And that is how he is called Antaryami also. We have seen anyway. This is so. Therefore, Ishvara is a Ishvara, well, basically due to this Maya only. And Brahman is not even an object of a worship. And because it is avyavaharyam. No vyavara. So what? Suppose if you worship Brahman, well, Brahman doesn't know you at all. Brahman doesn't know you. And therefore he will not he will not bless you also. Brahman cannot bless you because aprano hi mana shubhraha tad jyotisham jyoti apranaha amanaha. He doesn't have a mind. Well, to note that, well, you have worshipped him, and so, well, I should give him something what he really wants in life. Nothing. Achakshu shrotram. He doesn't have a chakshu, he doesn't have a shrotram. Apani padam. He doesn't have a hands, otherwise he will say, okay, please, beta, come. Okay, sit down here with me. Nothing. Apani padam. And you are very sick and you cannot go to Ishvara. Well, he comes to you. And so, but he doesn't have legs, he doesn't have a hand, he doesn't have a word, he doesn't have a tongue, nothing. He doesn't have any Jnanendriya, he doesn't have a mind, he doesn't have a prana at all. So he is not a living being. Brahman is not a living being, who can listen to you and who can say something good to you. Nothing. So therefore it is not an object of worship also. Brahman becomes an object of worship because of Maya, becomes Ishvara. Anyway, so this is how it is. So pure Brahman cannot bless also anyway. So whatever glory, what we want to say is whatever glory Brahman enjoys or Ishvara enjoys, well, definitely, that's due to Maya only. Like many husbands, when they, what happens is they get well off after marriage. So, well, before that, their status was very poor. And, after marriage, they come up with a good business and everything. And so in India, they always say that, once they marry, and so that woman comes to the home. And this person now gets, he gets a lot of money and everything. So they say, Lakshmi ji has come, therefore he is, and so after marriage, well, he has a certain glory. Before that, no glory. Same with this Brahman also, before marriage, no glory at all. After marrying with the Maya, well, definitely it has a glory. And so, because that's a first, Brahman and Maya get married, and then afterwards Brahman got glory. Till that parampara continues today also. And therefore, all these husbands they were not husbands, when they were just ordinary, males, and they were not having such glory. After marriage, they all have a glory. So it's a parampara because of that it has started from, well, ultimately from marriage of Brahman and Maya, the whole thing has started. Now that parampara continues. Anyway. So what I want to say is this Tatpadartha, well, basically Ishvara has Maya, which is a very significant component. And so Vidyaranya Swami says, well, he devotes many verses to explain what is this Maya. And we started from basically, 121 or something. I forgot the exact number right now. But anyway, so this is now almost we are on a concluding part of this topic. And he pointed out in verse 148 that Maya is not available for any kind of a definition. It's anirvachaniyam. I am introducing a new word today, achintyam, you can say. Achintyam. The achintyam word is very you are familiar with achintyam, which cannot be thought of. As such, achintyam has another meaning also, which Bhagavan has used that word for Atma in Bhagavad Gita, etc. But you can here say achintyam as anirvachaniyam as achintyam. And because Vidyaranya is going to quote some verse, and therefore I am also introducing here. So anyway, so we have established by analyzing ultimately that this Maya is achintyam, anirvachaniyam, and therefore, well, definitely the origination of, the creation, etc., all this cannot be explained properly. Any logic fails in that because ultimately it's a manifestation of Maya. Maya itself is, well, it's translogical, they say. Maya is not logical, illogical, etc. Well, anyway, so this is, we saw also. And I said in the last class that we saw that Satkaryavada of a Sankhya in Mandukya-karika, Asatkaryavada of a Nayayika, and we find all of them have got logical loopholes basically. So neither Sat is the cause of the creation, neither not the Asat is the cause of the creation, not Asat, Sad Asat in form of Maya is the cause of creation. It's impossible, and therefore ultimately we said this creation or Maya is Sad Asat Vilakshanam, which we generally say, which here we say is Achintyam. And this Maya is basically is backed by Brahman. So Brahman has to be there all along. Has to be there means it is there. It is there all along. Maya is just a projection which borrows existence. It does all this, the game of creation. So this much was said in verse 148, and then 149, that of verse also we introduced yesterday. And in that, Vidyaranya Swamiji points out that we have not that we have a very fanatical, view of our closed mind, etc. We basically welcomed all these philosophers to explain the creation with an open mind, of course. And but if anybody can explain logically, give an answer, convincing answer, etc., then we are willing to basically take it. That particular vada, we are ready to take it. But what we find is that this so-called logical, explanation, whatever they gave, they are basically, all, they are failing in that, they're superficially logical, but they are failing ultimately on analysis. So on inquiry, we find in every theory of the creation, there are many, many loopholes. And so, and to answer them, basically, in Vedanta also we have some Siddhi Granthas, as I mentioned yesterday. And the only job of Siddhi Grantha is to establish Advaitic principle with the help of logic. Definitely Vedanta talks about Advaita, that's a different thing, but then you have to establish through logic. And you have to negate other people who are so-called logically establishing other theories of creation. So you have to be very powerful in logic in order to negate the other theories of creation. Logically you have to negate them and establish our principle also logically. And therefore that is how in Advaita Siddhi of Madhusudan Saraswati, that Madhusudan Saraswati was a very, very great teacher, of a great acharya of Advaita. And he has written a text called Advaita Siddhi. In that he has given definitions of mithya, some 25 definitions of mithya. Each definition we will not be able to understand any definition. What I am saying is ultimately this Siddhi Granthas, advanced textbooks we can say. And we have a number of Asiddhi Granthas are there, Neshkarma Siddhi and Advaita Siddhi, Ishta Siddhi, and even Brahma Siddhi, etc. There are some texts. And these advanced Granthas takes a lot of effort in analyzing other systems of philosophy. And we are confining to our own, teaching, or with a Prasthanatrayi, etc. That was a Prauda Prasthanam, they call it. Prauda Prasthanam is this kind of a text. And this advanced textbooks, they analyze other theories. And of course in Brahma Sutra you get a little taste of it. Brahma Sutra second chapter, I think yesterday I told you, second chapter, second pada, gives a logical explanation. Refutes logically, just logically, no quotation from Upanishad, logically refuting this Buddha's Sanghatavada and Satkaryavada and Satkaryavada and all this. Logical, only by logic we have refuted. That's the job of Bhashyakara and Vyasacharya. Anyway, so we will get a taste of that, what kind of a Prauda Granthas we have. Where the main discussion between the different philosophers is based on just logic. And so, because some of them don't accept pramana, Veda as a pramana, they don't accept. Like Bauddhas, they don't accept. So how will you refute Bauddha's Sanghatavada of creation? So you have to take help of another pramana called Tarka, etc. Because They are very clever in arguing, but then we are much clever. We are greater experts of a tarka, because we know the boundaries of tarka. They don't know. So if you know pros and cons of tarka, then you are better aware of this tarka, etc., logical reasoning. So we know what are the defects also in a logical reasoning, or in a logic, in a reasoning. What are the defects, and certain what are the things you cannot prove through the logic. So that thing we tell logically to them. We tell logically that what logic cannot prove. So we know the limitations of the tarka also. They don't know. They feel that is the only thing. Once you enter into tarka, means you can prove everything and each and everything. Means they are not aware of the defects of the tarka, and therefore they are not experts. Expert is the one who is aware of the defect and some qualities also of the system. And so pros and cons you should be aware of both, which they are not aware of. And therefore, well, definitely we are greater experts even in tarka also. Anyway, Tarkikadaya, Vidyaranya says Tarkikadaya, the other philosophers like Tarkikas, means Nayayika, Vaisheshika, and Adi Padat you can take, etc., means you can take other Samkhyas, etc. also. And their Vadas also I have talked about, Asatkaryavada, Satkaryavada, Sangatavada, etc. Well, and they claim that they are very logically sound, and their particular Vada of the theory of creation is very sound in logic. They say like that also. Anyway, Vidyaranya says, Nirukta Abhimanam Dadate. They place their trust. Abhimanam is here trust, confidence. They have trust or confidence in reasoning only. They consider, if you talk about Shastra Pramana, means you are inferior. You are not intellectual. Because you bring a shield. Shastra says like that. You say like that. Oh, Shastra says. Means you do not have a capacity to argue. You just bring a Shastra in front. So they say, well, if you believe too much if you rely too much on a Shastra, if you bend upon Shastra very much, you are inferior. You cannot, means you do not have enough capacity to argue. And therefore, Tarka only should be the final pramana for everything. For establishing nature of Atma as Ishvara or whatever, creation, whatever it is. For everything has to be proved, proven rather, by Tarka only. So they are all Tarkikas. We are Vaidikas. They are Tarkikas. But Vaidikas are stronger in Tarka than the Tarkikas, basically. Anyway, so they keep aside the Shastra and they have full trust in the reasoning. Anyway, so Tarkikaha Abhimanam Nirukta. Nirukta means reasoning. Nirukta Abhimanam Dadate. Well, and Dadate means they place that trust. So Dha Dhatu is there in the third conjugation. That means to sustain. And it is a Ubhayapadi actually, Dadhati, Dadate, both two types of forms are there. This Dadate is Atmanipada, of course. And this is a present tense, Pratham Purusha, Bahuvachanam. So Dadate. Anyway, Datte, Dadate, Dadate. These are the forms. So Abhimanam, Dadate, so they heavily rely on this reasoning. They place their trust on this reasoning. And when they claim such logical supremacy, well, there are some great Advaitic Acharyas who have written these Siddhi Granthas. They demolish their logical reasoning, and that is the job of the Siddhi Granthas. So, definitely we can imagine these Advaitic Acharyas who have written these Siddhi Granthas must be very clever in doing reasoning and proving them wrong, or proving their theories of creation wrong. One of the great Acharya Vidyaranya Swami quotes here in this verse is, his name is Harsha Mishra Acharya. Harsha Mishra, a very great Vedantic Pandit actually, and who was, equally expert in Tarka Shastra also, and who is supposed to have lived in the 12th century, and who was the fourth Vidwan, that Rajakavi, etc. He was a fourth Kavi, or let's say, I think, of a Rajputa king called Jayachandra. And So these all in history we basically studied, Prithviraj and Jayachandra, all that. They were all Rajputa kings. And in Rajputa king, he was one of the Acharya. Means in all of there were several, in hundreds of years, basically in India, we were having great Panditas in different courts. So one Harsha was a king also, but this Harsha Mishra was a fourth poet, and which we are talking about, and he is supposed to be the author of one of the great poem, and called Naishada Charitam, and was a great kavya. It was a Mahakavya, and so it is very popular in Sanskrit literature. Naishada Charitam, like Kumara Sambhava of Kalidasa and all. This Naishada Charitam also was very very popular, and that is written by this Harsha Mishra. And he has also written a great Vedantic text of Siddhi Grantha, and the name itself is very difficult to pronounce, and that is Khandana Khanda Khadya. Khandana Khanda Khadya. So Kha 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 Kha. So this Khandana Khanda Khadya was very 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 difficult. You require a tremendous sharp intellect to understand. Purely establishing Advaita principle, logically establishing this Mithyatvam and Satyatvam and everything, and giving answer to basically two great logicians. One is a Shunyavadi, very great people in terms of logic, I am saying, Bauddhas, Shunyavadis, and other our Nayayikas. They have their own theory of creation, right? Both the theories were abolished by this Harsha Mishra Acharya in this text, advanced text called Khanda Khadya. Anyway, so Khandanadau, so he says, Vidyaranya Swami says, Khandanadau means in the book called Khandana Khanda Khadya, Sushikshitaha. These Nayayikas and Shunyavadis have been taught lesson. They have been given a very beautiful lesson. They have been given punishment, logical punishment. They have been given. So sometimes we say, if somebody we punish, we say, oh, we are educating him. That is that kind of thing. Sushikshitad. So Sushikshitaha means, well, they have been taught a good lesson. They have been refuted actually, or their theories have been refuted through the logic. They were saying we are logically supreme because you people are taking Shastra's help, and therefore thereby you are weak in arguments. So you bring Veda in front of us all the time. Just leave aside and Veda and argue with us that or prove that our theory of creation is wrong, and they are proven. They are proven wrong logically. So we have such great Advaitic teachers. This is Harsha Mishra. Like that I told you, Madhusudan Saraswati, and there are others also. There are others. So Sushikshitaha means they have been taught lesson in that book, and logically their theories have been thrashed. Now verse 150. Achintya khalu ye bhavaha natams tarkeshu yojayet achintya rachana rupam manasapi jagat khalu. So where Vidyaranya says that you have to remember a fundamental principle. It is given in the form of a shloka by one of the Acharya, I don't know the name, and it is often quoted actually. This particular shloka is often quoted, but Vidyaranya quotes one line. In second line, something else. I will tell you the whole shloka, but the first line is a part of the shloka. Achintyaha khalu ye bhavaha tan bhavan tarkeshu na yojayet. So there are many things in the creation which transcends logic. Ye bhavaha, padarthaha, bhavanti iti bhavaha. So ye padarthaha, the objects, there are so many objects, well, which are achintyaha, means which are translogical, means which are not logical, which are neither logical nor illogical. That means logic cannot enter their field at all. Through logic, you cannot understand them. That's all it means. So that is called achintyaha. So there are achintyaha bhavaha, achintyaha padarthaha. There are several objects which, several incidences, there are several happenings which you cannot explain logically. So logic cannot enter into their field. So just as you know, ears have no access basically to the field of colors, and therefore, well, ears cannot say that color is basically right color or valid or invalid, etc. Neither assertion nor refutation you can do. So far as colors is concerned, using ears, you cannot refute the given color, whatever the color is there, or you cannot even assert a particular color. So ears cannot do that job. So because they don't have an access. So the same way Tarka does not have a access to any subject matter of the Veda. Tarka does not have access. People try to prove punyas and papam. People try to prove Sarga and Narka. There are people in India, the speakers, good speakers. They try to prove Swarga Narka through logic. Swarga is here and Narka is also here, and you see these are the things in this world. There are certain places we can call them Swarga, and there are certain places we can call Naraka, etc. There is no other Naraka other than this, etc., etc. There is no Punya Papa other than this. Or they try to prove the existence of Punya Papa through Tarka. It is exactly like proving a color through ear. Never going to work. It is never going to work. Because no access. If you don't have if any pramana has no access to a given thing, neither you can refute with that pramana or a given thing, neither you can assert through that pramana a given thing. So how will you say, well, color is blue only because I have heard it through the ears, or I have seen through ears, or color is not blue at all because I have checked it with my ears. Ye kya baat hai? What is this? What is this? And that's how. But Swami, why do this give example? Because you enter into Veda, the very first page talks about yajna of rain. Let's talk like that. Through yajna and the rain comes. What is this? How do science will prove that? No access. You do some yaga which is of 3 hours, 4 hours of a day, or let's say, and karma is over. It's a yajna is over. By the time in the evening that the fire is put off, nothing is there. The scientists will come and say, "Yo, everything has become ash. Where is your rain? Everything is ash. Where is your rain?" In fact, you have basically done so much of loss to so many things, so many kgs of kilos of this ghee you have poured into that. It's all ash. It's all ash. You know what they do? This scientist, they for bringing rain, like Veda, they also do something like that. Something like that. What they do is they put a huge flame of fire, and then they add a silver nitrate into that. And when they add silver nitrate into that, then that silver nitrate gets comes into the molecular form and goes up along with that flame. And that silver nitrate molecule, very fine particle of silver nitrate, get attached to the cloud. And then definitely it's a very heavy, because of a silver, naturally silver nitrate. That particular particle is also very heavy. And so it goes with the air and that hot air, etc. It goes up and gets attached to the cloud. And that cloud ultimately, there will be a formation of a water drop, around that silver nitrate. And it is very heavy. And so it comes down. That's a rain. That's a rain. They try. They do that. So we do yajna, they do this kind of a thing. We offer something else. They offer silver nitrate. They try to imitate in one way. That's a real experiment going on. They do at several places. It was done in Ahmedabad also several years ago. It's a successful, but it may rain somewhere else. The cloud will go, and it will rain somewhere else. Anyway, so this is how it is. So, but they will also have to take this kind of a thing, taking fire. The fire will be there. But what I'm saying is science cannot prove. Science can't prove because the karma was over. Everything turned to ash. What goes is something which is adrishtam. Adrushtam is adrushtam. Adrushtam is established by Veda, right? Adrushtam cannot be established by pratyaksha. And that adrushtam well converts into rain. Then rain comes also. We have done at several places. We did it in our Coimbatore ashram also. We did it in Ahmedabad also. And we were successful. Okay? So don't think that I am big. That's all Puja Swamiji's idea, and then ultimately it was implemented. Anyway, in Ahmedabad also, Swami, we did not yaga, we did something else, but that was also responsible for the rain. And in the drought we got the rain. In drought, 3 years continuous drought, no prediction of rain anywhere in the Gujarat, not a single cloud. But that day, in the evening, we got rain. Afterwards, again nothing. Not before, not after. So, and then, well, and you are a scientist, you are a rational. I am with a small intellect. And so you say, how can you prove? How can you prove that that particular thing which you did has brought the rain? How can you prove? I said, how can you disprove? How can you disprove? How can you disprove? It's like proving a color through the ear. Adrishta is basically a paurushe vastu, which is never available to you. And if you don't have access to the adrishta, how will you refute it? If I don't have an access to my ears do not have an access to the color, how can my ears refute the color? Neither it can assert, neither it can refute. Anyway, so basically they don't have answer for all this. So this is like this basically. Similarly, Tarka also is a pramana which has got its own, field, and it can be employed within that field. And regarding Atma and creation and cause of creation, etc., nature of creation, etc., well, it cannot work out. So achintyaha means tarke achintyaha, beyond tarka. All this is beyond tarka. There are several. Achintyaha khalu ye bhava. There are certain instances where logic never works. I will tell you something else also is there. Tams tarkeshu na yojayet. Never subject them, those things, to logical examination. Na yojayet means don't put them or subject them to a logical examination. There are certain instances also. So to find out whether it is valid or not, na yojayet, don't do that. Vidyadhana Swami quotes half of the verse, which is very popular. I told you. The first line he quotes, which is very popular verse. One line he quotes. And the second half he doesn't quote. Actually, second line he puts something else. But the second half of that verse is this. Apratishtita tarkena kahatirnaha samshayam buddhim. So the first line is this. Achintyaha khalu ye bhavaha tams tarkeshu na yojayet apratishtita tarkena kahatirnaha samshayam buddhim. What is the meaning? Well, by employing the deficient, ineffective logic, limited logic, which person can answer all the doubts? Nobody can answer. There is an ocean of doubts, in fact, and can never be crossed by a boat called pure logic. With logic, we can prove anything. There are many things in the world which has no access, where logic has no access. So, apratishtita tarkena kahatirnaha samshayam buddhim. Samshayam buddhim. Ambudhi, ocean. Ambum dadhati iti ambudhi. Ambu means water. Dadhati, where there is plenty of water. That's ocean. Ambudhi. Samshayam buddhim. A ocean of doubts. Infinite doubts. Kahatirna, who is able to cross? Apratishtita tarkena. By this boat called apratishtita tarka. Which is, apratishtita tarka means or deficient tarka, ineffective logic, etc. With that, who can cross? Nobody can cross. So this is the second line. But Vidyadhana Swami says here, achintya rachana rupam manasapi jagat khalu. He says something else. Achintya rachana rupam manasapi jagat khalu. So creation comes under this kind of an experience. Creation is experience, all right, but creation cannot be proved logically. Creation is not illogical, creation is not logical. You definitely experience it, but cannot be proven. And within, why whole creation, within the creation itself you can give some logic, and but there are basically you will find certain instances where this logic fails. And one of the example we can give is of a health of a person. Sometimes it happens that the doctors have certain parameters that, well, if the sugar is within this limit, the person is survived, or he can go to coma. He will go to coma if it exceeds or something. If it becomes too much less, also the person goes to coma. And then blood pressure, regarding that also they have certain parameter. This within this range person can survive. If it is more, well, hemorrhage would occur or this thing will occur. And if blood pressure also reduced too less, it becomes less and less. After a certain, well, person's life is in danger. And all these parameters they have. Regarding cholesterol also, they have certain parameters. More than that means the person may get heart attack or something. And the triglyceride is more, and then that what happens, that brain stroke. Brain stroke will happen. This thing will happen. And then you find some case where all this this person's cholesterol not in parameter. Still he is surviving. He is moving around. And doctors also ask, how you have come to my hospital? It's impossible, like that they say. So basically, this is how it is. And so, and blood pressure also sometimes so high blood pressure, and he's normally talking. And so these are the cases which you cannot explain logically. There, myself has seen that. Even doctors sometimes share their experiences that such and such patient has come with such a high blood pressure or a very high sugar, and or too low blood pressure, too low sugar, all these things, or cholesterol too high. Still the person is surviving. Not just surviving, talking. And if he goes beyond, if he is even less than that, even the range, then the person feels sick. He becomes sick. And when again it rises, which is beyond limit, well, he becomes normal. How will you explain all these things? There are instances, several instances are such instances there. So we are talking about the whole creation. But let's forget about creation, that you cannot explain creation logically. We are saying certain instances in the creation itself are not available for logical explanation, where logic has no access. And therefore, don't raise your eyebrows. When we say it's all Maya, don't raise your eyebrows. So these things are already there. Anyway, so translogically it has been told here. And this has been, much discussed by Bhashyakara also in Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. I think in the second sutra or something, he discusses this. Second sutra or fourth sutra, I don't remember. But this, definition of the world, etc., Janmadhyasya Yatah, etc., I think in the second sutra only he has, in the Bhashyam, this thing has been explained, what I said to you. Anyway, and so this is a description of the universe, and such a universe can come out of Ishvara only, while Jagat is Achintya Rachana Rupam. It's of a design which is not available for explanation, undefinable, etc. And undefinable by what? Manasa. Mind cannot define it. So through mind you cannot even imagine, and the nature of creation, etc. And so basically Achintya Rachana Rupam Jagatah. So this is Achintya. The Jagat is basically of the nature of this, which cannot be categorized. Achintya Rachana Rupam. Let's go to 151. Achintya Rachana Shakti Bijam Mayeti Nishchanu Maya Bijam Tadevaikam Sushuptavanubhuyate. So it is Nishchanu, it is there. So you have to correct it. Nishchinu, it should be. And if Refa also is not properly printed, please correct it. Achintya Rachana Shakti Bijam. And Mayati it is also wrong. Mayeti it should be, if it is like that. Maya iti, like that it is. So this, creation, which is undefinable, must have existed before also in a potential form, because that is what we see actually in our experience, that whatever appears must existed before in a potential form. So like before arrival the baby existed in a mother's womb in a potential form. The tree existed inside the ground or inside the seed in a potential form before it appeared, it came out of the ground. Similarly, universe also must be, right now, which is in the form of universe, which appears, must have existed before in a seed form. And that seed is called Maya. So, undefinable, this creation existing in a seed form, that is called Maya. And so he says here, Bijam Maya iti nishchinu. So, nishchinu means nis plus chinu, I think it be nis plus chi dhatu is there of the fifth conjugation. And this is imperative mood. So, lot and madhyama purusha ekvachanam. So, nishchinu means may you understand, may you ascertain. From there only word we have got a word called nishchayaha. That's also from this same nis plus chi, fifth conjugation. And I think it is Ubhayapadi also. So anyway, so may you understand, may you ascertain Maya as a seed of this achintya prapancha or indefinable universe, indefinable creation. What type of a Maya? Achintya rachana shakti, which has got a achintya rachana shakti, which has got a creative power, which has got a creation, projection, manifestation, unfoldment. For that it has a power. So achintya rachana shakti, creative. Maya has a creative power, and which is achintya, which cannot be explained. So achintya rachana shakti yukta bijam is Maya. So yuktam. Basically, Maya is nothing but a seed which is endowed with a power. Power of what? For power of creating. This power of creating what? Power of creating universe. What kind of universe? Achintya, which cannot be defined. So this is the meaning. So what was basically, what will be the state of Maya before the creation comes? Suppose you want to have a taste. What kind of a... Swamiji, how do we visualize the Maya? Before this creation appeared, it was in the form of it was in the Maya, or it was in the form of a Maya, which is a seed. But how we will visualize that Maya? Creation you need not visualize because it is perceptible. But this creation, when it was in an unmanifest condition, and you call it as a seed, then how will you get a taste of such a Maya? How will you visualize this Maya? So, for that matter, you cannot destroy the world, which is, experimentally, because Maya is available when the whole world, gets into the potential form. And to get the taste of Maya, Vidyaranyak says something, that you have to taste, either before creation, or you have to wait till the resolution takes place. Then only you will find a state of a Maya which you can visualize. But how to get an experience of Maya? Because both are not possible. Before creation we would not be there, and after resolution also we won't be there. Therefore, how to visualize that Maya? So he says, don't worry, I am saying you something. And that is very simple. He says it is very simple. When you go to sleep, what you experience is Maya in a microform. That's all. In a microform. At a micro level, let's say. When the whole world sleeps, it is we called, it is a nidra. When Virat sleeps, it is Mahanidra, Yoga Nidra. And so, he says, Maya bija ekam, with this Shushuptau anubhuyate. This is Maya bijam. Maya bijam means not Mayayaha bijam. It is not Shashi Tatpurusha. It is it is seed of Maya. It is not seed of Maya. Maya is a seed. And therefore, Maya bijam, that samasa you have to do it as a karmadharaya. Maya eva bijam. Maya eva bijam, not Mayayaha bijam. Jalpaben, I am saying especially to you. So Maya bijam has been shown as a samasa here. It is not Shashi Tatpurusha. Because there is no seed of Maya. Maya itself is a seed, right? And we will be discussing that part also. So anyway, when whole thing resolves, basically, then this seed only remains. And so it says here, this Jagat Bijam you can say. Jagat has a seed that is called Maya, and Sushupta Anubhuyate, it is experienced by everyone in Sushupti. Because why he tells like that Maya is experienced at a micro level in Sushupti, and therefore you can visualize that at the Samashti level also. You can visualize how the state would be when the creation resolves, or before the creation emerges, what kind of a state it would be. You can imagine. Because you are experiencing sleep directly. At a micro level, you are experiencing Maya. Why? Because in Sushupti, there is no Sthula Shariram. There is no Sthula Prapancha. There is no Sukshma Shariram. No Sukshma Prapancha. There is no time. There is no space. There is no Ishvara. Nothing. Nothing is there. And therefore, when you sleep, when I go to sleep, whether I am Astika or Nastika, that also is not there. So, during sleep, basically, there is nothing. Everything is resolved. That's okay. Everything is resolved. But then you said, you understand, try to understand. Muktatma, you try to understand that basically Maya is a seed. Means resolve. And resolve in then the whole creation resolve into that. That is how it is seed. That's what it is. In Sushupti, where everything resolves. So, do they fly? Sthula Sharira fly. When you go to sleep, Sthula Sharira go away somewhere. Sukshma Sharira go away somewhere. They all basically resolve into you. And that is ignorance. That is the ignorance where everything resolves. And it comes out from that only. And therefore, your Sushupti, which is ignorance or a Karana Shariram, it's a micro level, it's a micro level of that Maya. Okay? And therefore everything resolves into you. In fact, the whole world resolves, including time and space. Everything resolves. And basically, and the so-called Jiva also resolves. Everything resolves. Because all are manifestation from the Maya. So he says, Sushupta Anubhuyate, this is experience. Nothing to worry. What you experience. But Swamiji, in Sushupti, I experience Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira Pradhanam. Basically, Sushupti is a Karana Sharira Pradhanam. So where the Karana Sharira is active. When Karana Sharira becomes active, Sthula and Sukshma becomes inactive. That is how it is. Sthula Sukshma becomes inactive. Yeah. When Sthula Sukshma becomes inactive, there will not, when they become active, there will be karma. When Karana Sharira becomes active, there is no karma. Everything resolves. Senses resolves. Prana does not resolve, but prana is almost identification is not there. Karmendriya resolves. Mind resolves. Everything resolves. No karma. In fact, it is a state of inactivity. When Karana Sharira is active or it's predominant, it's a state of inactivity. When other two Shariras, Karya Shariras, Sthula and Sukshma are active, that's a state of activity. That's how it is. Anyway, so what I am saying is, you are experiencing, you say I am Karana Sharira, but it's a Karana Sharira predominance. Where is Maya predominance? But I say Karana Sharira is a Maya only. Avidya is a Maya only. And no, but then Avidya is a Vyashti. And Ajnanam is a Vyashti. And Maya is a Samashti. How will you draw a boundary? I would like to know. How will you draw a boundary in an unmanifest condition? Try to draw a boundary. When things manifest, you can draw a boundary. In unmanifest condition, how will you draw a boundary between Vyashti and Samashti? If you can draw a boundary in unmanifest, it is not unmanifest. It's manifest. Okay? When Sthula Sukshma Sharira is there, right, which is manifest, you can draw a boundary that this is my body, this is your body, this is that body. Everything. In unmanifest, everything is one. Anyway, I think that topic is going to come later. Perhaps. I still remember that in Pancadasi this topic also is there. And through some Upanishad quotation, this topic is discussed. Well, we'll discuss at that time. Unmanifest condition is unmanifest. Unmanifest means what? What is potentially existing, right? That is unmanifest condition. Potentially existent. And in potential existence means it's as good as non-existent. And such a as good as non-existent state, how are you going to draw the boundary? How are you going to draw the boundary? How will you know that in this particular egg, the legs are on this side and the eyes are on this side in a given egg when they're just a liquid. How will you draw that these are the the legs of that bird, and these are the feathers of the feathers of this bird, or this eyes of the bird or head of the bird? How will you draw? How will you draw? How will you draw a boundary of a given seed? Take a given seed and draw of a tree. That here is a trunk of the tree. Here is the branches of a tree. Here is a root of the tree. How will you draw? Unmanifest means unmanifest. You cannot draw Vyashti Samashti. That is how we say. Sometimes Bhashakara says Maya and sometimes say Avidya and all that. Ultimately, even if you say, Sushupti, basically it is Karana Sharira Pradhana, correct. But Karana Sharira means it is unmanifest only, Avyaktam only. And so what you experience there is Maya only, ultimately. Okay? And even if you don't agree, there is another thing also. No problem. From the Prakriti, the Maya, the Trigunatmika, only this Ajnanam, Karana Upadhi has come. The Rajapradhana Prakriti alone is this Avidya. And Sattva-pradhana Prakriti, etc. It goes with it. It is told as a Maya. So it's ultimately one thing alone. Okay. Anyway, so this is how we can give an answer. Sushuptau anubhuyate. Maya bijam ekam. Well, this Maya bijam, the Maya eva bijam, this basically Maya, which is a seed, which is ekam. Well, you can experience in Sushupti. During sleep, there is no Ishvara, no Jiva, no Jagat. Just Maya. Understand? So I can talk more on this. During deep sleep state, there is no Ishvara. There is no Jiva. There is no individual. And there is no Jagat. Could you follow now? All the things come when you wake up. You become aware of the Ishvara, you become aware of yourself, Jiva, and you become aware of the Jagat. So when all the three resolve, and from all this thing alone, all the three came, right? Through Maya only, all the three came. In fact, Maya only divides this Brahman into three parts, like you divide your ice cream into three parts. Same way, Brahman is divided into three parts by this Maya, right? And these three parts are this Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Okay? Nothing is there. Everything comes from that. So we don't say Karana Sharira, and Karana Sharira, Vyashti and this Samashti. You cannot find any difference. That's a deep sleep state. Anyway. So let's read now 152. Jagrat Sapna Jagat Tatra Leenam Bijaiva Drumaha Tasmadashesha Jagataha Vasanas Tatra Samsthitaha. So, with the previous verse, fortunately, unfortunately, Maya discussion is over, which is one part of Ishvara. And now hereafter he has to introduce since we have talked about a medium, so now we will have to talk about a reflected consciousness also. And now, so he's proceeding further. All this ultimately a discussion regarding Ishvara, regarding Tatpada. This all what we are doing is a Tatpada Vichara. And Tatpada Vichara is a part of Mahavakya Vichara. And so, Vichara means analysis. We are doing analysis of Tatpada, that is Ishvara only. And in that, one of the component was a Maya, a reflected consciousness now. So, he says, Jagrat Sapna Jagat Tatra Leenam. Tatra means in that Maya, the seed. The whole Jagrat and Sapna Prapancha are Leenam, are resolved in unmanifest condition. How do you know? Question. Well, also because it is not in unmanifest condition, and therefore it cannot come out. If it is not there in unmanifest condition, it cannot come out. And so that's how we say that right now that Prapancha, or Jagrat Sapna Prapancha, basically whenever they are manifest, they are resolved, it will be unmanifest condition. If it is not there in unmanifest condition, it cannot come out. And how do we know? Well, mango tree is in unmanifest condition in mango seed. How do we know? This is all question. How do we know mango tree is in unmanifest condition in a mango seed? How do we know? Well, Then we say because it comes out from that. If mango tree is not there in the mango seed, in unmanifest condition, then what is the advantage, Great advantage. Yeah. If mango tree is not there in the mango seed in unmanifest condition, then what is the advantage? You need not have to take mango seed to get mango tree. Any seed will be okay. Any seed will be okay. That's the advantage. So you want a mango tree and you don't have mango seed at all. Nothing to worry. Any seed you plant, ultimately you can get mango tree. Why do you need a mango seed only to get mango tree? When you plant a mango seed, mango tree does not come by flying and enter into that, right? This is a great advantage, otherwise we'll have. Many times when I was doing some gardening before, many times, the rain comes and the land, it's ready. Land also is ready with fertilizer and everything. But seeds are not there, especially for flowers, I am saying. And then you want to plant because now rain has come, but the seeds are not there. Why should you worry about other seed? You take away the fenugreek seeds, you have in the kitchen. Take those fenugreek seeds and plant. From fenugreek seeds, you may get some roses and everything you can get. Why you need a coconut seed only for coconut plant? Why? Because that coconut tree is there in the coconut seed in a packed condition, in unmanifest condition. Okay? It's a packed condition. So similarly, Maya also has this unmanifest universe because from Maya only comes the unmanifest universe, and that's how we call as a Bijam. And why does he say only this Jagrat Sapna Jagat? He should include Karan Jagat also. He forgets, I think, Vidyaranya forgets. The Bijam Maya, because Jagrat Sapna Prapancha only resolves into Maya, he says. Leenam resolves into Maya. At the time of resolution. Karana Prapancha also resolves. This Maya itself is called Karana Prapancha, okay? And therefore, Leenam is what? Both this Prapancha resolves. What is manifest is Jagrat Sapna Prapancha. What is Karana Prapancha is that unmanifest condition, and that is Maya only. In fact, Karya resolves into Karanam. And so it is a Karana Avastha. Only it has, there are two avasthas. Manifest, unmanifest means Karana and Karya. Unmanifest state is a Karana. Manifest state is a Karya. That's all. And therefore, and he gives an example. Bija iva drumaha. Druma means a vruksha, tree. Bija iva. So it's a bijaha. Bija it has been told, but you have to supply ekara because it's a lopa basically. It's a vowel sandhi. Bija iva drumaha. This tree is there in the seed itself. So just as tree is in unmanifest, unmanifest in that seed, world is also unmanifest in the Maya. And tasmad ashesha jagataha vasana. Here vasana means that potential form or that karana rupam, etc. That's the meaning. Vasana means a karana rupam, basically avyakta rupam. Ashesha jagat, samagram jagat. This whole world is there in the Maya as vasana, means as avyakta, as unmanifest. And so tatra means it is present in that Maya. Tatra means say bija, mayayam. Tatra means here mayayam, in that Maya which is a bija, this whole world comprising of this Jagrat and Sapna Prapancha, Sthula Sukshma Prapancha, you can say. Jagrat Prapancha means Sthula Prapancha. Sapna Prapancha means Sukshma Prapancha. You have to take it that way. Sthula Sukshma Prapancha resolves into Maya which is a seed, and that is a unmanifest world. Okay, I think this is enough. So further we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.